tomorrow as a download. So you don't need to try and think about remembering what we're going through now. You'll get a copy of this, all right? So just kind of go with it today.
Yeah.
All right. So you've got some 70.3s coming up. You've been swimming. Maximum you swim is kind of a couple of times a week when you're swimming at your kind of your peak, if you like. Like I said to you, I'll send you through a training program. I think you need to try and get that up to 3 times a week, ideally. Certainly for the last 8 weeks before the race, and that can make a huge amount of difference to you.
It will be as well when I add open water to it, and after March, April, that'll be easier to get to 3 times a week.
Yeah. And where do you swim when you do swim? Where do you swim?
Normally Mallory or Cliff Lakes.
Okay, but when you swim in the pool, where do you swim?
Oh, sorry, Abbey Fields mostly.
Where's that?
Kenilworth.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's a dive, to be honest with you.
It would be worth considering coming to at least the occasional squad session of ours after we've done this, because what it means is you need somebody to keep an eye on your stroke when you're improving, because it's very easy to think you're doing the right thing when you actually can be slipping back into old habits sometimes. All right, so we do sessions here and Stratford, and these are some of our lot here, and Warwick and Solihull. So it's going to be worth trying to get into one of them, so we can keep an eye on you. But obviously I'll leave that up to you. So in terms of your current stroke, then, what do you think is the thing that's kind of holding you back? What do you think you need to work on?
So I expect I haven't got much strength upper body, so I imagine my pull's not very effective.
Okay.
I imagine my legs are going down like that, and therefore a lot of drag.
Yeah.
And that's probably partly because I've got skinny legs, and partly because I've got lack of core,
Right.
I'd say. I guess they're the main things.
Okay, all right. And have you had any stroke looks out in the past?
I've done the occasional Wednesday Masters session at Kenilworth. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay. Have you had any feedback on your stroke or anything?
Yeah, but that was like last year. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think the best thing we would do was just run through it, and effectively what I do is I say what I see, and we pick out the main 1, 2, sometimes 3 elements of your stroke. When we talk about stroke correction, there's normally a correction hierarchy, so we have to try and fix things in the right order, because sometimes if we fix the things at this end of the chain, it will follow through, and you'll end up fixing other elements of your stroke as a natural consequence of that. And because we're doing them in the wrong order, then you don't get that kind of effect.
Okay.
So we pick 2 or 3 maybe kind of big ones. We also do that because you have to keep things simple. Otherwise, you can't overthink when you're swimming. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. You've got to think about one thing at a time. Yeah. All right. So let's kind of play this through and see what we've got. So this is the standard poolside view, really. So I'm looking at things like the head position, the height of your head in the water, the stroke rate, so the speed at which your arms are turning over, and also what's happening with the arms when they're actually recovering over the top of the water. They're the main kind of things that we look at. So, I'm right all racky with that. So we're looking at the right-hand side first of all, and that's actually, to that point there, nice high elbow. Haven't seen your body position in terms of your rotation in the water yet. Your head's in a reasonable position in the water there. And then what happens at the point at the top of the stroke there, top of the recovery, is the hand starts to whip around the side. So at that point, what we look for is the hand is behind the upper arm there. So you have this, where is it? You have that kind of shape there, right? Now, if we play this through, what happens then is the hand suddenly overtakes. So it's coming around the side. And then you can see what it's looking at, it's already kind of lining up to spear into the water quite deep and directly in front of the head. Okay. Now, if I just show you...
Too close to the head where I want to be.
Yeah. So if I just show you the animation here. So so you can visualise what we're talking about. I don't think I can swap him the other way around. It's a shame he's going the opposite way, but never mind. So what I'm going to show you here, what we do on this left side, is the recovery, just so as you can see ideally what it would look like. So there's your high elbow, that's how your hand was before. Now what his hand does, which is different to yours, is it swings through underneath, almost like a kind of a pendulum effect. Swings through underneath and then spears into the water.
Okay.
Oops.
So one of the tips I remember from those kennelwear sessions was, as you bring your arm up, kind of trace the water with your fingertips.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. And again, you'll speak to the other chap from earlier tonight about that we have different strokes for different people, and sometimes coaches try and get everyone to do swim a certain way.
Yeah.
Whereas the reality, if you look at these guys, I mean, you probably can't really see it so much, but they all swim differently because that's the way their bodies, they're older athletes, that's the way their bodies move. Mm-hmm. They don't have the muscle memory to get them to do the perfect stroke sometimes. So ideally, if you'd have been swimming since you were a kid and you were like a really good technique, that's the kind of drill which is really good for this chap here, who's what we call a smooth, Mr. Smooth, classic good quality pool swimmer. So here's the fingertips look, dragging on the surface of the water and then spearing in there. Now what I'm trying to show you here is that he's spearing in front of his shoulder, actually just outside his shoulder. Now, I'm just kind of painting a picture now of the different types of swim types, okay? So there's another way of swimming front crawl. There's various different ways of swimming front crawl. Everyone swims a slightly different variant of one of these two strokes. This is what we call a swinging stroke because the arms swing around the outside. So if you look at this woman here, her arms are much more open in the chest and in the shoulders, and the arm itself is much more open. So it's a straighter arm recovery. So it's right out here. So it's swinging right around the outside. So this finger drag drill wouldn't work for someone like this because that's not the way she swims. Okay? This is the way most triathletes swim. Okay? If you look at the Brownlees, you look at them on the TV, this is the way they swim. Slightly higher turnover, not such a neat and tidy, beautiful, long-ranging stroke. It's more tempo and turnover. And because the higher turnover gives you more stability in the water. If you're being bashed about by other people, it doesn't knock you out of your rhythm and out of that beautiful kind of glidey stroke as you would do with a pool stroke. All right. So now the reason I'm saying all that, if we go back to you now, what you're looking at doing there, let's wait for it to catch up, is rather than, well, we want you to do either one of two things. We either want you to swing the arm through like a pendulum and spear in front of the shoulder, and we'll see this better from above in a minute, but the arm would be more spearing in here, maybe there, or in terms of the swinging type of stroke, swinging around the outside and coming in over here somewhere. All right. What you're doing with your stroke, which is a problem we need to try and sort out today, is you're spearing in really short and you're coming in front of the head. Oh, right, okay. So it's what we call a crossover. So rather than going in front of the shoulder, you're going in front of the head, so there's elbows like the arms like this. But what that means is when the hand goes in the water, you're over there. You've got to somehow get your arm back across here to start your catch. So we end up with a dead space at the front of the stroke, where you've got no propulsion and it drops your stroke rate right down.
I'd say my stroke rate is quite low as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why. Yeah. because there's elements of your stroke which aren't really doing much at all, really, in terms of propulsion. So carry on playing it through. We'll have a better view of that underneath the water in a minute. So the left-hand side, similar kind of thing, really.
Did you notice any difference between my left and right?
Not yet, not yet. Do you only breathe left?
No, I try and do alternate.
Okay, all
And
right.
that's because when I used to breathe on my right,
Yeah,
my left shoulder started to really ache.
okay.
So I've had old shoulder injuries, and I found that bilateral breathing evens everything up a bit more.
Yeah, okay.
Having said that, I can see kind of the last 500 meters of the triathlon just breathing on my right, just to get through if I have to.
Okay, yeah. So what's happening here is just having a look at your head. Again, we'll have a closer look on the way back. You're spending quite a long time on your side. So you're breathing here, turning to the left, breathing. Your arm is out front. You can just see your hand there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's your hand. Yeah, it's coming down here. And then, because you're spending so long breathing, your head should be back in by now. So your lead arm there, the arm which is there to support you in the water, is gone. So you start to sink. It's also, when you spend too long on the side, it throws the timing of your stroke out. It throws the timing of the stroke out. Now, and what happens as a result is the hand, the recovering arm, almost has to wrap itself around your head. And again, you can see this really steep angle here, and you're spearing in really short again. So ideally, you want to be spearing in between your elbow and your wrist. So that kind of depth, okay? More towards the wrist if anything. Okay, so imagine you're in the water, it's up here. You're coming in much closer to the head at a much steeper angle. Just play that through a little bit. Okay, so now what you're going to see is what's happening as a result of the hand spearing at that angle. Now, what's really good here is your body position is actually pretty good. I saw that straight away on the camera. Your bum's on the surface, your heels are almost on the surface. I think as you got towards the end of the fourth length, you did drop a little bit. But at the moment, that's good. All right, that's really good. We see some people down here, they're almost dragging their toes on the floor. So, and having good natural body position is a real bonus.
I always had the perception that I was dragging my feet a bit.
Yeah, well, you can see it looks fine there. It looks okay there. We'll see what happens as it progresses, but at that moment in time, it looks pretty good. Now, yeah, my computer's not working properly. It's going slow at the moment. So, I'm just going to wait for this right arm to come in here. So here we go. There's the right arm. Sorry, the right arm coming in. You can see it's coming in front of the head at quite a deep angle. And there we can just see, again we'll see it from a different angle, you can just see the hand is starting to sweep out. So you've got this motion, and at that point it's actually where it should be. So I'm going to get you to spear in directly to that point and cut out the slice at the front, because that's what's dropping, making the stroke rate drop. Okay? That position actually there isn't too bad. If you speared straight into that position, it's not too bad. Fingertips kind of below wrist, kind of below elbow. It's a little bit straight, but it's more or less there. Okay, so that's not too bad. You're pulling through a bit straight here, but I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. Here's the left coming in. Now the left is doing something. So the left is coming in really steep with the fingertips down, and then you're going like that, up. Whereas, oops, no, pressed the wrong button there. Let's go back. Where were we? So, what I'd like to see you do is spear in again directly into that position, rather than down and across, and they're both quite similar on both sides. And that'll clear that clarify that from above as well.
Okay.
All right. And I will tell you how we're going to achieve this as well, of course. Got a little split in the legs there, a bit of a scissor kick, and that's because you're losing a bit of momentum, a bit of balance, rhythm and balance at the front end of the stroke. The leg kick generally balances up what's happening at the front end of the stroke. I'm not too concerned about your kick. You're working quite hard actually, so you might have a look at that saying that. When you swim with the pull buoy, is the effort level right down? Yeah. So we will have a look at your kick.
I've done in the past kicking drills just with the
Yeah.
in front of me. I'll go nowhere.
Yeah. Okay. So the point of that really, particularly for triathletes, is you don't want to be burning all that gas for no reason. And equally, you know, if you can see you're not going anywhere with your kick, why are we using all that? It's completely wasted energy. 95% of your propulsion will come from the front end of your stroke, 5% from the back. But most people, very often, swimmers are putting 95% of the effort in the back and 5% in the front. It's completely the wrong way around. So we need to try and redress the balance. And we actually get people using pull buoys quite a lot. If you switch the legs off, they're forced to use the arms. We do a lot of pull buoy work because that's even people like Ian Thorpe. Remember from back in a few years ago now. He would get, I think it was something like 7% propulsion from his kick, and he's a sprinter with a hell of a kick. All the rest of it comes from the front end of the stroke. Something like that. It's like a really small percentage. All right, so let's carry on playing it through. I'm not too concerned about, let's see what's happening. Because that arm is effectively collapsing down and not having a positive stroke, like if I show you, I'll show you Rebecca Adlington. So you see how Rebecca there, she's in that position that I was saying I'd like you to spear into. At that point, her elbow almost stays where it is, but the forearm rotates down and turns the forearm into this big paddle. And that's what I mean by a positive stroke underneath the water. So you're getting in, you're getting hold of all that water there, and you're pushing it back. Whereas what you're doing with your stroke a little bit, if you think about where you're pushing the water, you're pushing the water down. Maybe not until we get down here where you actually start to generate some propulsion going that way. Because you're losing a bit of support on the front end of the stroke, you're completely on your side. So you kind of lose balance and go completely on your side. Whereas if you had that support arm, that's what you lean on, because you're pushing against that water and it gives you that stability in the water. Sounds easy when you kind of say it out loud, isn't it? But, and then of course once you're on your side, what you'll find is you start to sink. You start to sink down that way. In fact, saying that, you don't move a huge amount, which is good for you. You're still managing to stay on the water surface. So you think your body position isn't great, you're still up there. If we can get some propulsion in your stroke, with that body position, you'll be fine.
Okay.
You'll be fine, yeah.
What about the arch back?
Yeah.
Back and forth, I guess.
Yeah. But I wouldn't worry too much about that now. We've got other fish to fry, as it were. All right, so I mean, having a strong core is always helpful, and if you've got time to do some core work, then absolutely. But there's other things that we can focus on at the moment. So if you play it in real time, you can kind of see those hands coming in and sweeping out. The legs are kicking quite a lot there. Let's wait for you to come back. You have a look at the breath on the way back. See if you're holding your. Yeah, you are. So. Now what I'm looking at here, we'll get a bit close to the camera in a minute, but you just breathed in there, I'm looking to see if you're holding your breath, because your breath holding, holding your breath affects the timing of your stroke. It also affects the kind of how hard it feels, the effort level.
Yeah.
So you've breathed in there, and ideally what you want to be doing is you have breathing out. You can see some air coming out. Oops, wrong one. So you take a breath. You take a breath. It looks like you do an initial breath out, and then you stop breathing. Stop breathing. Now, when you hold all that air in your lungs, it will actually make your chest float a little bit. And anything at the front end making the chest go up will make the legs drop a bit. Okay. But more importantly, what it does when you hold your breath, which is just about to come up here, is when you turn to breathe, if you've got your mouth here, you're breathing out at that point. So what you're actually doing is, rather than breathing in, head back in, breathing in, head back in, what you're actually doing is you're breathing out, then in, and then your head's going back in. So what happens is that you're spending twice as long on your side, which means this arm drops. You're still on your side, so the recovering arm has to wrap itself around the top. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's really important that we get you breathing out properly.
So should it be as soon as your head's back, you started breathing out?
Yep.
You carry on breathing out until your next stroke ends?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so if you breathe every 6, you got a longer exhalation. If you breathe every 2, you try and get it out in between. But the main thing is the bulk of it is gone by the time you turn to breathe. All right, you breathe every 3 if you're breathing on both sides. So, yeah. All right, so we'll have a look at your breathing. See your head position, you're looking straight down, that's fine. Your bum's still on the surface, you're still keeping a nice decent body position there.
This might be where you can see the elbow in my right arm comes up higher than my left. There was one dodgy stroke, which maybe it's just the old injury.
Sometimes when you breathe, the stroke is different on the other side. So from this is where you really see what's going on with these arms recovering, spearing in. So there we go, look. So spearing in, so the arm is heading that way.
Yeah.
Rather than spearing in here and going straight. Because you want to be almost swimming along, as though you're going to be swimming along tram lines.
It's not the way I want to go.
So you can see why you're losing momentum through the water. You're kind of slightly bowed in the water there. You see your spine is slightly curved up here. If I show you, again, just for visualization purposes, if I show you John Irvan Hazel, he was an ex-Olympian. This is the guy that Mr. Smooth is based on. See if we can find him swimming away from the camera. Here we go. So it's all super straight. See, the arms are coming in straight, the head is dead straight.
Yeah.
Turns to breathe, head back in there. And his head is so still, you could almost put something on the top of his head. He's got an amazing stroke. So, not quite the same as yours.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So, and there we go. There's that arm. It's going. Oh Christ! Now I've got to get into the position I should be in. So it's having to sweep out wide.
It just kind of throws me off more around.
Yeah. To show you kind of get a bit bent out of shape. And here's the other one again, spearing in really close to the head. Doesn't kind of come quite as far over, but it still has to come in and sweep out there. There's the leg splitting a little bit. Just play this through again. And you can see where you breathe there, you're right. Particularly on the breathe on the right, you come right over. I don't think we're going to see a huge lot else. We're just seeing the same thing from different angles, really. And there's this straight arm pull through. What that does when you pull through like that is it pulls from the shoulder. So ideally, you want to be, the hand should be there. So you pull through beneath the wrist, sorry, beneath the shoulder. So that means if you pull through like this with a bend in the arm, you're pulling through with the chest and the back muscles. If you pull through wide, it's a big lever on the shoulders. They'll wear your shoulders out, get your shoulders tired. It's just a weaker pull. It's the same, similar thing on that side, but when it gets a bit further through, it comes in, pulls in a little bit close to the body, which is a bit better. Then pushes out wide, so that's a little bit better on that side. So, what we're going to do, are you with me with all that so far, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do with you is we're going to do some work on your breathing. What size shoe are you?
9.
Okay.
9, 10.
All right, so we've got some fins for you to do some exercises with. All right, so we're going to do some drills. We're going to start off with a sink down drill. This is just a drill to get you used to breathing out under the water. So a steady stream of bubbles. And once you exhale, fully exhale, you sink to the bottom of the pool. All right, and that's what you should be doing when you're swimming. As you said before, breathing, and then until it's time to breathe again. Just nice and relaxed. So we'll get you doing that a few times. We're then going to get you to pop some fins on and do some full stroke swimming. We're just working on that exhalation. And the way we're going to do that is you're going to take a stroke, and then you're going to put your head in the water and you're going to go. You're going to breathe out and make that noise into the water. Because to make that noise, you've got to breathe out. Okay, just nice and relaxed. And the fins will help you get some propulsion without a huge amount of effort, just a steady kick. Okay, so get you used to breathing out in the water. And then what I'm going to do is get you to do some alignment drills to try and get you a little bit straighter in the water, as I showed you with this chap. So the straightness along the water there. So the way I'm going to do that is we're going to kick on the side drill. So we're going to start off with the kick on the side drill. And you go down the whole pool in that position, completely on your side. And what you're getting used to is this hand, I showed that hand position before, getting used to swimming along with that hand in that position where it should be. So nice and straight. And this is kind of a base drill. So you do it on both sides. This is kind of a base drill for the next one, which is when we introduce a stroke back into the drill. 6x6. Where'd that go? So it's the same one as you've seen, but this time what we're going to do is take a stroke. So if we can do one nice straight stroke, we can start to build up, do 3, do 5. And you just get used to feeling what it feels like to be straight, spear and stay straight in the water, spearing into a good depth. Again, we do it with fins on, so it makes it a little bit easier for you. And then we'll probably take you up to full stroke from there and just see what kind of difference it makes, and make some manual adjustments in terms of I'll be telling you to spear in a bit deeper with the hand or a little bit wider, just tune you in from there.
Is there any way I can kind of try and get myself to be straighter rather than coming in? I've just got to think about arm position, I guess, but I'm just wondering if there's any trick to it or kind of method to it?
So getting you to come spearing straight rather than coming across. Well, this is what we'll do here. Is you will actually be spearing in at 2 o'clock or 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, rather than 12 or 1 o'clock. If that makes sense. So that'll be feedback from me saying you just need to get wider. So bring the arm over the top and spear in wide. You're going to feel like you're swimming like this because you're so used to swimming so closed. You want to be swimming much more open. Okay. Get you to relax the recovery on the arm. Just, I told you, showed the difference between the smooth recovery and the swinging recovery around the side. Just relax, open the chest up, and just relax those arms more. Okay, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to spear in straight and be a smooth, whereas you're not going to be a smooth. You're going to be more like a kind of in between a slinger and a smooth. If that makes sense. All right. So just relax and open up the chest and shoulders a bit more. And I think that's probably more all we'll get through today. But I think that will make a huge amount of difference to you. So the breathing, the alignment, and the quality of that recovery. If the recovery is better, then the catch will be better because your hands will be in a better position. All right, and that's without even kind of working on the catch. It will also improve your stroke rate because you won't be having the dead spot. We'll be getting into a better catch position sooner, so your stroke rate will naturally go up. Okay, which is going to be another benefit to you. And I think that's probably going to be enough for today. All right.
Yep.
Got any questions?
No.
No? Okay. Right. Let's get this exported then.